Listen, if somebody ever asks me who am I voting for, I'm going to simply tell them I'm voting for myself, because that's the best person I can ever vote for at this point and forever. There's nobody that I can even think of that's better to vote for than myself. And when I mean vote for myself, I don't mean being a candidate for president. I mean voting for myself as in putting in the time and the effort to build myself up, to build my platforms and my foundation up, and the people around me. And that's what black people have to do.
Ooh, I bet they can't stand me. Ooh, I bet they can't stand me.
I woke up early this morning with the intentions on speaking on this particular topic. Who are you voting for? And why do you vote? I want to talk about this because black people for the last 150 years, and even more than that, have been thinking that voting is a way in which they can cause change in their society. Now, when you study other nations of people in this world, nobody, as far as I'm concerned, nobody ever pushes the intentions on voting to have a voice in this society other than black people. You don't hear this from the Chinese people. You don't hear this from the Arabian people. You don't hear this from the Latino people or the Mexican people. Because when you look at these particular people, they create stuff within their own organizations, within their own communities, and they build up foundations and economic plans for themselves. They have countries that represent them and back them up. So if something was to happen to them in this country, they have a whole nation of people that be like, we not down for this and we don't like how you're treating our people. When you're dealing with black people have been beggars for the past 150 years. And probably even more than that. When you have these black people, you see a long history of peaceful protests and singing Negro songs, we shall overcome. You can't expect to be taken seriously. When you were building nations within a nation, when you were building Black Wall Street in Rosewood, being built in Florida, even Atlanta at one point was considered a very, black-owned type of city. Chicago, and so on and so forth. Harlem. So you had these particular places in the United States where you were building nations within a nation. But what had happened was you began to fail for the hoopla. You began to want to be associated, assimilated, and integrated with your oppressor. And so what this did is that you abandoned your ideology for building for yourself. See, you didn't build Rosewood and Black Wall Street so that you can build something for yourself per se. You build it for survival. Because the white people wasn't going to accept you, so we have to build our own by force. But because white people, or I should say the liberal type of white people, because they came to you and was in open arms, playing the wolf in sheep's clothing, you fell for the hoopla, you abandoned your own civilizations and your own economic plan for yourself and for your people, and because of that, you begin to go down. There are lesser black-owned businesses than there were back in the 1960s. Black people own lesser land now than what we did back in the 1960s. Black people do not own as much land as they do now as they did back in the 1960s. Why? Because we have fell for the hoopla in which we think that being integrated and assimilated into another person's country, into another person's government, into another person's court system, into another person's power system, we think that is something to be considered the first black president, the first black horseman, the first black baseball player, the first black basketball player. We think it's considered to be best second than to be first. Because to be the first black, this does not mean anything. It just means that you're the first black person to do it in another person's society, in another person's government, which means you're second best. And you don't mind being second best, as long as you can eat good, you can live good, and you don't have to deal with oppression, at least confronted in front of you. So what you're dealing with here is a cycle in which when things begin to happen and go down, right, each year, because this is recycled, this is a ritual in the society in which they play on your emotions. So each time that it's time to vote, every 4 years, right, each time that it's time to vote, they play on your emotions and they want to get to you, right, to make you think that you're doing something in life by voting. If you didn't know by now, the presidents that are in line and that have been in line, for the most part, are related to each other. So these presidents are not elected. You have no parts in who gets into office. These presidents are selected. Everybody, all the way from George Washington down to Obama, for the most part, 9 out of 10 of them are related to each other. Obama is related to George Bush and Bill Clinton. Hillary is a distant cousin to Bill Clinton and to Obama as well. Trump is a distant cousin to Hillary Clinton. Whether Joe Biden is related to them, I do not know. But what I do know is that this is a family thing for people who are within the position to be president. And so when you have a system that does not seek your best interests, when you have a system that continuously distracts you from the real issues that concern yourself, for some reason you think that it's deemed as positive, you think it's profitable for you to keep going for the dang football that Lucy keeps putting on the field. And I promise Charlie, I promise you can kick the football. I'm not going to go anywhere.
You won't be disappointed, Charlie Brown. This time I have a little extra surprise as a bonus.
And as soon as you fall for the hoopla, every 4 years, run for the football.
This time I'm really going to kick it. I'm going to kick the habit. This is the end of all my faults.
He takes the football and you land flat on your back. And this is the same thing that happens when it concerns black people. We think that if we vote, if we go out there and vote early, you know, we think that we are doing something in this world. If you look at the history of America, what in your black mind makes you think that voting of all things is going to do something? When you look at other nations of people, you don't see any other nation of people, you know, advertising and trying to persuade their people to vote. You look at the Chinese, and they have Chinese towns all across the nation. You never see them voting. I don't even see Chinese people advertised in voting early or people voting. I don't even see Chinese people in lines voting. That's how bad it is, right? I don't even see Chinese people in the lines when they show them on the news when it comes to voting. For the most part, it's either the white people or the black people. I don't see the Arab people out there trying to advocate for their own people to vote, to have a voice in this society. I don't see that because they have their own economic plan in this society. They have their stores on every block. You don't see the Asians doing that because they have their big Asian markets that their people support within those particular places. I don't see the Mexican and Hispanic people doing that because, again, they build their own for their own. And they call the shots of what happens in their communities and with their people. They have nations to back them up as well. And their nations don't go down for that if things were to happen in this society against their people. We, on the other hand, are beggars. We don't mind begging and being on our knees, begging massa to be accepted. You ever heard that song that the black man made earlier this year, back in the summer, where he made the song "I Just Want to Live"? I made fun of that song to the highest extent.
Oh Lord, please
Because if this doesn't show you
help.
the feeling and the emotion of black people still trying to, you know, play that role of, am I not your brother too?
I just wanna live.
This is what was going on back in the early 1900s. The, am I not your brother too? Now you have here in 2020, I just wanna live.
God protect.
You're begging people who do not seek your best interests to accept you. And Malcolm and so many people before him and after him have told you already that this country does not seek your best interest. That does not mean go back to Africa. That means that you have to build for your own while you're still here. That means you look after your own while you're still here. Don't go trying to beg to people who do not seek your best interest and will never see you equal to them. Do not go trying to beg to them to see you equal. And don't fall for the hoopla of the liberal people, of the white people who are, you know, sincere and all this other type of stuff when they're playing on your emotions. They know how lighthearted you can be. You don't stand your ground when it comes to getting what you want. That's why they play your emotions with the tokenism. They give you, you know, Martin Luther King Street, Martin Luther King Avenue, Black Lives Matter on the streets and stuff like that. Oh, you get black representation on television. That's not power. You don't get anything back from that. You just feel better inside because you see more black on TV. Oh, we got a black mayor, we got a black president, you know, and yet you still live in the same condition as you did 150 years ago. So I made this video to tell you that voting is not going to solve your issues. Voting is not going to do it for you. Now, you may be black and you might be a strong advocate for voting, and what I'm saying to you might sound like some house Negro type stuff, but it's actually the other way around. Nonetheless, what's going to take for you to get what you need and deserve in this society is for you to do for yourself. If you read the book Message to the Black Man by Elijah Muhammad, he breaks it down thoroughly. If you read the thoughts and the philosophies of Marcus Garvey, if you read that book, he breaks it down thoroughly. He tells you that every nation of people, every race of people have done for themselves but you. If the Irishman can do it, if the Frenchman can do it, if every other nation of people can do it, then we should be able to do it for ourselves as well.
Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Our great scholars, having passed through the colleges and universities, have thrown away the blessed record. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Germany under Prince von Bismarck did it. England under America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you will die. You race of cowards, you race of imbeciles, you race of good for nothing. If you cannot do what other men have done, what other nations have done, what other races have done, then you had better die.
Marcus Garvey told you to stop being a beggar and that the black man and the black woman must create for themselves. Same thing with representation. Stop going to the white communities and the white societies for representation. Create your own representation. You don't need a black James Bond. You don't need a black Superman. Create your own superheroes. Until next time, I'm Tyrone. Thank you for watching this video. Like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this video with other people. Comment below about how you felt about what I had to say. If you like what I had to say, if you didn't like what I had to say, let all that be known in the comment section below. Until next time, I'm Tyrone, and I am out.
That Negroes vote for in the coming election.
I wouldn't suggest that they vote for any party or either party. I would suggest that the so-called Negroes become politically mature, realize the power that they hold in the field of politics, and then once the person who is running is aware that this man is awakened to the power that he holds, then that person who is running will approach that Negro on a more intelligent plane. As it is right now, most of the Negro leaders sell out to the white politicians for crumbs. And an awakening, a political awakening among Negroes will make it impossible for the present Negro leaders to sell our people out as they've been doing in the past.
Well, you do think Negroes should vote?
Negroes should do whatever is necessary to bring about a complete solution to their problem. If it, when I say whatever is necessary, whatever is necessary.